Hi, today we're after ring ouzels. I'm in a car park in mid Wales and there's a series of rowan trees here, and I got here at 5 to 7 this morning, so it's still dark. It's 2nd of November today, so there was no light, but the ring ouzels were already feeding on these berries. By 20 past 7 I could start to take video, just about, and the autofocus was just about managing to lock onto things. But the ring ouzels are staying behind the tree, they're not coming to my side of the tree, so I haven't done very well yet. And unfortunately this car park tends to get a bit busy, so by 10 o'clock it could be crowded if it's the same as other years. These ring ouzels don't come here every year, it really depends upon the berry crop, and last year when I called in there were no berries. But it looks very attractive at the moment. Just want the ring ouzels to come out into the open.
Far more frequent visitors than the ring ouzel were bullfinches, and as they tend to do in the winter, they travel around in small groups. There were 2 or 3 males and perhaps an equal number of females too. The male has got the redder breast, and as you can see they're quite messy eaters. They don't eat those rowan berries whole, they pulp them up, take little bits off the berries and then squash them. This is a female. And clearly the berries underneath the clump are the tastiest ones. Throughout the session I'm using the OM 150 to 400mm lens. I didn't put the 1.25 extender on at all. The light really wasn't good enough for that. But these pictures are taken with the OM1 camera body, whereas most of the video was taken with the Lumix GH6. Early on in the morning I was shooting at 3200 ISO, but as the light gradually built up I dropped down to 1600, which is my default setting with the OM1. So long as I could get a shutter speed of around, let's say, 1,000th of a second, that was enough to freeze any action, because the birds are fairly static. Any movement is really the wind blowing the branches about. So all I really want is 1,000th of a second and upwards. The ring ouzels were also coming in small parties, but they tended to stay around the back of the trees and not really showing themselves. This is the male, more of a black and white bird. But I really want him to come out a bit more in the open. After a while, a female did come and show itself a bit more clearly, but watch the first berry. Does it eat it or does it drop it? Just disappears. This is what happens when you watch video at normal speed. You can't really see what happens. Now I think the next berry you should be able to see that it swallows it. Yes, I could see it swallow that one. And again. But some of them they do drop. And if I look down at the floor, there was quite a collection of red berries on the floor, just like fieldfares and redwings do. Now we have a female really out in the open and showing itself.
So that bird was on that branch for a long time. I got quite a lot of video of it. I was able to change to slow motion video because there's enough light now to reach 2/50th of a second shutter speed, which means I can shoot at 120 frames per second, roughly 5 times slow. And for the first time ever using the GH6, which is what I'm using for the video, I took some stills pictures as well. I normally like to take the stills pictures with the OM1 camera body, but I didn't want to swap over because the bird was a bit close and I didn't want to disturb it. So I've never taken a stills picture, I don't think, with the GH6. But I turn the dial to what I think is aperture priority and hit the button. Whether I've got anything or not, I don't know yet.
So my first two pictures taken with the GH6 camera. Not that you can tell them apart from the OM1, and it's the same lens, the 150 to 400mm.
The other thing I now have to start to think about is it's 8:30, so I'm expecting this car park to fill up, although it's raining, which might keep a lot of the tourists away. But at some point I need to swap over to take stills pictures and put the OM camera on.
The ring ouzel is a summer visitor to the UK. Unlike the fieldfare and the redwing that visit us in the winter months, they breed here. But they do stay surprisingly late into the autumn, and towards the end of October, early November, they're often found feeding on rowan berries. And this can be anywhere in mid-Wales. You've just got to find some suitable trees and hope to come across some ring ouzels. You also come across redwings and fieldfares at this time as well. This bird finally really came out into the open and showed itself. The female ring ouzels were far more showy than the males. This is in slow motion now. Now notice he has a problem. The stem is still attached to the berry. He's going to have a problem swallowing that. He's trying to break it off. Half swallows it, spits it out again, tries again. He's going to have a lot of problems breaking that off. And he knows it. So he gives up and throws it away. Now I didn't get as many stills pictures as I'd like of the male ring ouzel, and this one was very open, so about this point I freeze the frame and I take a stills picture from the video. I've done that before and I've talked about it in my previous films. The quality is very good because I'm shooting in 4K. And just a few more stills pictures say the males on the whole stay behind the berries. It's 10:15 now and been an hour and a half since the last ring ouzel showed up. The car park is a bit more busy. There's cars coming and going and people walking about, but they're not disturbing the birds because there's no birds here to disturb. My problem is I was out talking to a camera club last night, then I got up at 3:30 this morning to get here, and after an hour and a half of nothing happening, my eyes keep closing. I keep drifting off to sleep. The weather deteriorated too, a lot more rain and strong winds. It's the winds that's a real problem. Birds don't pose very well in strong winds.
It's 2:30. There's been heavy rain for the last hour, strong winds, and I haven't seen a ring ouzel since 8:45. So I'm going to give up. Time to go home. Thanks for watching.